What's the most devastating thing you've ever heard come out of your grandfather's mouth? I was diagnosed with a heart condition when I was 4 years old, and my parents started a medical fund for the surgery I'd eventually need. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, family friends, everyone contributed over the years. My sister was always the favorite, and I learned early to stay out of the way and not ask for much. But I always knew the fund was there when I needed it. My symptoms had been getting worse, and I knew I needed to talk to my parents about accessing the fund. But my sister was pregnant, and I didn't want to ruin their excitement over their first grandchild. Last spring, I started getting winded walking up a single flight of stairs. Some mornings, I'd wake up with my heart pounding so hard I could see my chest moving. My cardiologist sat me down in September and told me we couldn't keep waiting, that the surgery needed to happen within the next few months or we'd be looking at serious complications. I called my mom that night to talk about the fund, and she cut me off mid-sentence. "Can this wait? We're picking out the crib tonight and your sister really needs me there." I said it was important, and she said, "I'm sure it can wait a few days, sweetie." I filed for pre-authorization with my insurance and got denied. I appealed and got denied again. I called my dad to ask how to access the fund, and he said, "We're at a doctor's appointment with your sister right now. Can I call you back?" He never called back. I got denied a third time, and the letter said they didn't consider the surgery medically necessary despite 3 doctors saying otherwise. I started having chest pains at work so bad I had to lock myself in the bathroom and sit on the floor until they passed. I tried my mom again and got voicemail. She texted me later that night with a photo of a onesie that said, "Grandma's favorite," and nothing else. By November, I could barely make it through a shift without feeling like I was going to pass out, and my doctor used the phrase irreversible damage for the first time. I finally got a surgery date for January, but the hospital needed proof of funds before they'd confirm my spot. I drove to my parents' house on a Saturday to talk about the fund in person, and waited on the porch for 2 hours before they came home. When they finally pulled up, my mom looked annoyed to see me. I said, "I need to talk about my surgery." She said, "Can we do this later? We've been at your sister's all day and I'm exhausted." I asked when later would be, and she said, "Christmas. The whole family will be there. We'll figure it out then." 2 weeks before Christmas, I passed out in my kitchen and woke up on the floor with a bruise on my head. I didn't tell anyone. I just needed to make it to that dinner. When I cornered my mom in the kitchen at Christmas, I asked her how to access the fund. She wouldn't look at me, just kept rearranging rolls in a basket. "The money is gone. We had a family emergency." I said, "What emergency?" She said, "Let's not do this here." I said, "I have surgery in 3 weeks. I need to know what happened to 18 years of donations." My dad walked in and she gave him a desperate look. He said, "Things got complicated. We meant to tell you sooner." I asked what they spent it on and neither of them answered. My sister appeared in the doorway with her hand on her belly, and something in my chest went cold. I said, "You used it for her fertility treatments." My mom's face crumpled and she said, "You don't understand how hard it was for her. She wanted this so badly." By now, my grandparents and aunts and uncles had gathered in the kitchen doorway, still holding their drinks and dinner napkins. My grandma went pale and said, "Did my money pay for IVF?" My dad said, "Mom, it was an emergency." My sister stepped forward and said, "It was an emergency. I'm in my 30s. I couldn't just wait around forever." My aunt said, "You're 30. You're barely in your 30s if you can even call it that. And doesn't insurance cover IVF?" My sister rolled her eyes and said, "After a 6-month waiting period." 6 months? I was supposed to just put my life on hold because of some stupid policy? The room went silent. My grandfather stepped forward and said, "Say that again." My sister lifted her chin and said, "I said 6 months was too long to wait. I wanted my baby now." Grandpa looked at my parents, then at my sister with her hand on her pregnant belly, and his voice went flat. "You're going to be a wonderful mother. You've already learned how to sacrifice one child for another." By New Year's, my grandparents had set up a new fund in my name only, and I got my surgery in February. My parents have been cut off by their own family. My sister's baby shower was canceled because no one would come. Last week, I went for a walk without getting winded for the first time in 2 years.